We begin today the Gemara on Daf Samech Beis Amud Beis, towards the bottom of the Amud. We're holding where it says Ella Omarove. So we're in the middle of a sugya here. The Gemara is discussing the second half of the first Mishnah in the beginning of the Perek on Daf Samech Amud Beis. What it said there in the Mishnah is the halacha of ribis midrabanan in the framework of a sale. What's the case here? So there's two parts to the story. The first part of the story is a person that came to buy wheat, and he's coming and giving him money in advance for the wheat that the seller will provide for him for the entire season. And at that time, when he pays for it, he's paying for the market value that's already set at that time, which is 25 dinar. Then later, when he comes to actually get his wheat, the price goes up, and that wheat that he now gets is actually worth 30. So he paid 25 in advance, and he's getting 30. So now, midrabanan, this could be an issue of ribis in the framework of a sale. You paid in advance a lower amount, and you get back the fruits that are worth more. So, but there's two conditions, two possibilities where this will not be an issue of ribis. Either if the one that's the seller that's providing this wheat has all this wheat in his possession right now. Because he has all the wheat in his possession, it's like the buyer already got that wheat, he paid the money for it, even though it's not a real kinyan, but there is a misha para for such a kind of thing, if you pay and then the seller doesn't give, as we learned in the previous Perek. So it's already like it belongs to the buyer, and therefore the fact that the price of this wheat that he's giving him later goes up, it's not like he's getting something from the seller, but it went up in the buyer's possession. That's what the Gemara calls yeshloi, that the seller has it in his possession, and therefore the price that went up later does not matter. Another condition is, even if he does not have it in his possession, but if there's already a set market value at this time, then the fact that the price went up later, it doesn't matter. Yotza hashar. Because if there's a set market value, even if this seller doesn't have this wheat in his possession, he doesn't have it. But you can go and get it from anybody else easily with that set market price that you gave him the money right now. So therefore, there's no issue of ribis, even with the rabbanon, in those two situations. Again, either yeshloi or because yotza hashar. That was the first part of the story here in the Mishnah. But then the Mishnah went on and said that there's a second part of the story. Because what happened over here is, the buyer came to ask the seller for the wheat that he said he would give him, and now the price of the wheat went up. It's worth 30 dinar. And he tells the seller, give me my wheat, which is worth 30 dinar. And what I want to do with this wheat is, I want to sell it for the price that it has now, 30 dinar, and I'm going to buy myself wine for this. The seller hears this, you want to get wine for it? I'll give you wine in the value of 30 dinar. And he says, I'm not going to give you wheat now, but you want wine? I'll give you wine for it. On this, the Mishnah says, if he has wine in his possession right now, this is allowed. If he does not have wine in his possession right now, then the fact that he says he's going to give him wine and he's going to provide him wine at a later date, and on that date, the value of the wine will go up. Today it was worth 30, then it was worth 35. So today he owed you a value of 30. And when he actually gives it to you, this amount, he's going to give you this amount, which is now going to be worth 35. So there's going to be an issue of ribis. So the question that the Gemara had asked on this is, that over here, the Mishnah says that all it depends on is, does he have the wine in his possession right now? Then there's no issue of ribis. Because even if he's not giving you the wine right now, but he has it already in his possession right now, he owes it to you, so therefore it's yours, and if the price goes up, it's not him giving you more, it went up in your possession. But if he does not have wine in his possession right now, then if he's providing you the wine later, it's going to be an issue of ribis. The question of the Gemara was, why here don't we say that the other condition applies as well? Once there's a set market value, yotza hashar, why should it matter whether he has the wine or not? Once there's a set market value, I say that even if the price goes up later, it's not going to be ribis. So on this, Rava answered, and based on a braisa, that this halacha of yotza hashar doesn't always work. What does it depend on? If it's a case where it's a buyer and a seller, where the buyer is giving the seller money right now into his hands, then I say that if there's a set market value, then the fact that the price will go up later doesn't matter, because you're giving him money into his hands right now. He can take that money and buy this produce or whatever it may be that he says he's going to give you right now with that money. So therefore, he doesn't have it, but he can get it right now, and therefore it's like he gave it to you already, and if the price goes up later, it doesn't matter. But if you're not giving him money right now, if it's a case where someone owes money, and then he says, I'm going to pay you this produce, and he doesn't have it in his possession right now. That's basically what the case of the Mishnah here is. The seller owes you this wheat. And you're not giving him money right now. You gave him the money a while ago. He owes you right now wheat, and he's telling you, instead of the wheat, I'm going to give you wine. So now in such a case, it will be ribis, even if there's a set price right now, but it's going to be ribis midrabanan, because then the wine that he's going to provide him later, the price went up. And you can't say over here that once the price was set before, that because he has that possibility to buy it from someone else for you right now, so therefore it's like he gave it to you already in the beginning. Now, no, it doesn't work that way, because you're not giving him money. He doesn't have money in his hands right now for it. Okay, so that's the point that the Gemara is going to focus on now. This distinction, the Gemara refers to this here and later on as Isrei ba biyodoi or lav loi ki Isrei haba liyodoi, which means Isrei is the money. Are you giving him money right now? Then I say if there's a market price that's set right now, then there's no ribis here, because he can take that money and buy for you right now what he's telling you he's going to give you. If you're not giving him money right now, then it's an issue, because he can't get it for you right now. He doesn't have money in his hands. And that's what the Mishnah meant to say here regarding this wine. When he tells you he's going to give you the wine, because you're not giving him money right now for this, so he tells you he's going to give you the wine, and then later he's going to provide you this wine with a higher value based on the later market value. So therefore there's going to be an issue of ribis. Okay, so now Abaya asked on Rava. Abaya had his own pshat here in this Mishnah, which I'm not going to go over now. But now Rava comes back and says, Rava asked on Abaya's pshat, refuted Abaya's pshat, so therefore Rava comes back and says that his pshat is right, and Rava is going to prove this from a brisa. So now Rava explained as follows: when I will pass away, Rabbi Shia nafik levasi. Rabbi Shia is going to come out lamaila to come and greet me. And the reason is the metaratzne masnisin kivasei, because I explained the Mishnah according to what he taught in his braises. This is the braises of Rabbi Shia. Usually there's the braises of Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Shia. They taught to explain. They were talmidim of Rabbi Rabbeinu HaKadosh, and they explained the Mishnayos. So Rava says, I'm explaining the Mishnayos according to him. And Rashi points out that this was something that Rava was accustomed to doing. We find it here and in another Gemara in Bava Kama as well. So where do we see a braise of Rabbi Shia that makes this point that Rava said that explains our Mishnah? The Tani Rabbi Shia taught the following halacha. And here, it's going to be a little bit of a lengthy braise, but the point that's going to come out of this braise is that in a case where a person tells you in advance, a person tells you in advance that he's going to give you something, and for something that he owes you money. And instead of paying you money, he says he's going to give you produce, wine, or whatever it may be, and he's not giving it to you right now. He doesn't have it in his possession. And then later on, the price is going to go up. Even if there's a set market value now, there's still going to be an issue of ribis. Why? Because you're not giving money into his hands right now. That's the point there. So what does it say in the Braise here? If you are trying to collect from your friend the money, so you borrowed money from him, you're not giving this person money right now. Again, you lent him money, that is, and you're coming to collect that money. So you come and you stand there in his field by his threshing floor, and give me back my money that I lent you. And you tell him, I need this money because I want to buy wheat with it. So the borrower says, I have wheat. You don't have to go and I'm not going to pay you money. And then go buy the wheat. I have the wheat right here that I'll give you. Say that you can go and calculate the amount that I owe you, and that's the amount of wheat according to the shar. So there is already a market value that's set right now that I'm going to give you, and I'll provide you later on throughout the season. I'll provide you this wheat according to the market value of today. Now, the time of when people actually are selling the wheat came. This is a month later, let's say. And now, now he comes to him and says, okay, so we made up, you're going to give me wheat for the money that you owed me. Give me wheat. And now he tells him, what do I need this wheat for? I'll use this wheat. Now the price of the wheat actually went up. So he's going to take this wheat, and he wants to use this wheat to sell for the higher price that it's now, and to buy for it wine. So the borrower again says, that's what you want to do now. You want to buy wine. Amala yeshli yayin, I have wine as well. Shani noisin lecha. I'll give you wine for this higher price now that you want. Tzei v'asen alai kishar shalach shav. Go and calculate and take. You'll get wine from me according to the value, the set market value that's already established now. Okay, so but he's not providing him the wine right now. But then higiya zman yayin limkar, the time of the wine when it's all made and done and it's ready to be sold. The time for the wine came, and now he comes to get his wine. And he tells him, "Give me my wine." I want to. Why do I want the wine? I want to sell the wine. I want to use this wine to sell it to buy oil with it. And the reason is because the price of the wine went up now. He wants to use it to sell and to buy oil with it. So again, the Bauer says to him, I have oil that I will give you. Go out and calculate it, and I'll give you according to the market value that's set right now. So the question is, in all of these cases that it says here, will it be allowed to give him, but based on what he told him in the beginning? In the beginning, there was a market value, whatever the price was. It was a mana, let's say, in the beginning, right? That's how it started off the story here. And now the market value went up to more than a mana. And then later, when he comes to get the wine, it goes up again. When he comes to get the oil, it goes up again. So the question is, you promised one thing in the beginning, and then later on, you're going to end up giving him more. Is that a problem? So over here, though, there's a market value that's set already in the beginning. So if there's a market value set in the beginning, so it shouldn't be a problem. That's one of the conditions that we say that it's not an issue of ribis. So here Rabbi Shia taught, and this is the point that Rava was machadish, im yeshloi mutter. If when this person says, I'll give you wheat, or I'll give you wine, I'll give you oil, he actually has it in his possession, then this is allowed. Im einloi, that is, if he does not have it in his possession, then aser. Then this is not allowed. So what do you see from here? Even though there's a market value set at that time, we're not going to say that the very fact that the market value is set, he's able to buy it from someone else, and therefore there's no issue with ribis. No, there still is an issue of ribis. What's the explanation? Because in all these cases here, the point is that he borrowed money from him, and he's not getting any money from him right now. In the case of a moicher and lekeyach, a seller and a buyer, where he's giving money to him right now, over there you say, if there's a market value set right now, and he says he's going to provide for you later, even if the price goes up later, there's no issue of ribis, because I'm giving him money right now, and he can take that money right now and buy for me what I need. But over here, by the case of a loan, where he's not giving him money right now, so over here, even if the market value is set right now, it doesn't matter. He doesn't have it in his possession right now, and he doesn't have any money that you're giving him right now that he could buy it from anybody. So if the price goes up later, it's going to be an issue of ribis, that he promised you one value, and later on you're giving him a higher value. So this is the pshat in our Mishnah as well, according to Rava. The next few words here in the Gemara, Rashi says it's a pirish meshubish. This is something that some Talmud wrote, and it ended up into the Gemara, and Rashi is not guided these words in the Gemara. My lokach bava. There are some Rishonim that explain it, but Rashi explains that we should not be guided this. So let's continue from the next part. Now, Rava that brought this brayso of Rabbi Shia to prove his pshat in our Mishnah. Rava says, Shema minam with Rabbi Shia tlas. I can learn out from this brayso of Rabbi Shia 3 points. Shema mina, the first point that I can learn out from here is the mamidin milve al gabi peiris, that you establish a loan, and the payment for this loan is going to be peiris that you're going to give. V'loya merinon, and we're not going to say the loy ki isroi habal yodehu. We're not going to say that since in this case you're not giving him money right now, you just you borrowed money from him, and what's the payment that's being said over here? The payment that's being said over here is a peiris that he's going to give back to you, and these peiris that is when you're coming to collect the loan, when the lender is coming to collect the loan, and the borrower says, I'm not going to give you money, let's set the value of these peiris that I'm going to give you. So even though he's not giving you money right now, we allow the payment to be of these peiris, even though the price of the peiris is going to go up later. But that's the first point that we see here, and that's what happened over here in the story here. Right, when he borrowed money, and these peiris. Now, another point though, this goes together with the previous point here, but the Shema Mino, we also see from what Rabbi Shia said, but who the Yeshlai? This is only allowed if the borrower actually has those paytas in his possession right now. As we explained before, if he has those paytas in his possession right now, so he has it, so therefore, it's like it already belongs to the malva that he says he's going to give it to. And Rashi here brings up again the point that I mentioned before, that it's even though he didn't really acquire it yet, but the very fact that you owe it to him because of the fact that you borrowed money, so there's a mishapara if you back out from this, that you promise you're going to give these fruits here. So if you have it in your possession, it's like you gave these fruits already. So even if the price of these fruits go up later and you end up giving him these fruits which now have a higher value, it's not an issue of ribbis, because it's like you gave it to him already before. And then a third point we can learn out from what the Bryce of Rabbi Shia said, Ushma mina isa l'Rabbi Yanai. We could also prove from here that the point that Rabbi Yanai said is true. Because Rabbi Yanai, what was the halach of Rabbi Yanai? Rabbi Yanai says like this: Mali hein, mali dmeyen. Makes no difference if you're paying those fruits themselves or you're paying the value of them, the money of them. What Rabbi Yanai was referring to was this case over here where there's a psika ala peiris. That's what this entire concept is referred to. When someone owes money, and when you come to collect the money from him, instead of paying money, he says, I'm going to give you from these peiris. And he's not giving you the actual paytas now, he's going to give it to you later. And so then that's allowed, even if the price goes up later, as long as he has it in his possession. But here though, in the Braisa of Rav Shia, it said that later when you come to get from him that produce, what was the original produce he was supposed to give you? Chitim. But he doesn't end up giving you chitim, he says, no, I'm going to give you wine instead. And then he doesn't end up giving you wine instead, he's giving you oil instead of the wine. So what do you see over here? That even if you get paid later, not from those actual chitim that you made up, you get paid something else, and that something else, the value went up now, it doesn't matter. Because he had those chitim originally in his possession, it's not considered to be ribis. Now you may argue and say, if those actual chitim that he had in his possession is what he's giving you, so then you could say he's giving you what was yours already. So therefore the fact that the value went up doesn't matter. But if he's giving you something else, so then that something else is not what you were kind of from him, sort of. It's not what there's the misha para on that he's supposed to give you. He's giving you wine or oil, something else. And now its value went up. If its value went up, so then you should say that there is an issue of ribis. But for this, Rab Yanai said, no, mali hein, mali dmeyen. That when you have to give him the paytis that you had, and the value went up now, and there's no issue of ribis, and you have to give him those paytis. If you don't want to give the paytis according to that higher value now, instead you want to give money, the actual money, the higher value, same thing, because the money it replaces the paytis. No difference if it's the money or the paytis. Even though it comes out that this borrower is paying back more than what he borrowed. But because over here, in this case, he was paisik on the paytis that he had in his possession then, even if later he pays more, it doesn't matter. There's no issue of ribis. That was the chiddush of Rav Yanai. So he's learning out from this price at this point, as we see here, that he was paisik on chitim, but then he's not paying chitim for its higher value later. He's paying wine instead, or oil instead, and it's still okay. Same thing if you give money. That's according to Rashi. Some Rishonim actually say that in the price of Rabbi Shia, you see only if you can give other produce instead of wine, that you give, instead of wheat, you give wine, or instead of wine, you give oil. But from Rashi, it's mashma even money. That even if the borrower is going to say, okay, I'll give you money of this higher value, even if it ends up being more than what he borrowed, it's not an issue of ribis. So here the Gemara brings a machlokes about this, that there was between Rav and Rabbi Yanai. The Itmer, we learned the following machlokes. Rav says, Oisen amana bepeiris, that you can create this payment, that there's a trust regarding peiris with fruits. So this term of Eisen Amana Bepeiris is the same point that we're talking about till now, which is Paiskan ala Peiris, where someone owes money and he says, instead of paying you the money, I'm going to give you this amount, the value of what I owe in the Peiris throughout the season. And according to the market value that's now, and there's no issue even though the price goes up later. But he says, Ve'eisen Amana Bedomim. Rav says though, if you create this deal and this trust that you're going to pay later on, it has to be only with the actual paytas that you have now. That's what you're paying. But if you end up paying afterwards with the money for the value of the paytas that's higher later, then you're giving back actual money, which is more than what you borrowed, and that's the issue of ribis. But Rabbi Yanai says, no, it doesn't make a difference. Mali hein, mali dmeyen. Just like you can give the paytas itself, because that you have now, and even if the price goes up, it went up in the possession of the lender. It's like he got it already. Same thing if you give the money for its value, there's no difference. So now the Gemara brings back the Braisa from Rabbi Shia to ask on Rav. So Meisvei, so the question was asked, Kulam im yeshloi muter. That in all of these cases that the Rabbi Shia mentioned in the Braise, if he has these items in his possession, then it's allowed. So again, what was the raya that we brought before for what Rabbi Yanai said? He says he's going to give chitim, and then the price of chitim goes up, and in the end he doesn't give him chitim. Now he says, no, I'm going to give you wine for that higher price. And then the price of wine goes up, and instead of wine he gives oil. So it comes out that the higher value of what he's giving, he's not giving from those chitim or that wine that he had originally. He's giving him something else. So from this you see, like what Rabbi Yanai said, that it's not only allowed if you're giving him from that produce that you actually have now, even if you give him something else, whether it's wine or oil, or according to Rashi, even money, it's not an issue of ribis. So that's a question on Rav. Amar Rav Hone, Amar Rav. So Rav Hone said in the name of Rav, B'Shem Mashach. This brisa is actually talking about a case where the lender that came to collect this money here, and the borrower tells him, I'm going to give you here these wheat, or then he says, I'm going to give you the wine or the oil. He actually made a real kinyan. It's not just that he owes him money and therefore it's like he got it. As I mentioned before, Rashi says that even without a kinyan, there's a mishapara, you're supposed to give it. No, he actually made a proper kinyan. He did a meshicha on these chitim. So if the value goes up later, there's no issue of ribis here, even if you're going to pay money for it, because the value that went up is the value of your chitim that you did already a meshicha on. It already belongs to the lender with a proper kinyan. But the Gemara asks, if that's the pshat, Ibisha Moshach, he made a proper kinyan with meshicha, it's tzvicha lemeima. That's a chiddush. Any chiddush in this? What's Rabbi Shia teaching? Obviously, it's yours. And now, if the value of it goes up, if he wants to give you money instead of the chitim that are yours, he's going to have to give you the money of that value now. There's no issue of ribis. What's the chiddush here? Ella, so the Gemara says, the chiddush over here is he didn't actually do a proper kinyan of meshicha. It was just designated in a certain corner. He showed you here, this is the wheat that I have for you, I'm putting it here in this corner for you, and I'm going to give it to you throughout the season. So that chitim and that keren zavis, even though it wasn't mamish a proper kinyan, but just being miyached it is enough that it becomes like yours, and if its value goes up, then if he wants to pay you money for that higher value, it's like it's yours already. So there's no issue of ribis. Another pshat the Gemara says, the Shmuel Omar. Shmuel says to explain why the brayse of Rabbi Shia is not a question on Rav. Ha mani Rabbi Yehudahi. This brayse follows the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. The Omar Rabbi Yehuda said, Tzad echad biribis mutter. When you have a situation where there's one possibility that it should end up being ribis, that's allowed. Which means, according to Rabbi Yehuda, when you have a situation where it may be ribis, it may not be ribis. Like over here, where he says he's going to give you these fruits. The price of it might go up, and then it could be an issue of ribis. The price of it may not go up, and then it won't be ribis. So because sometimes it could go up, and sometimes it can't go up, so in such a case, Rabbi Yehuda says, it's not considered to be ribis. Okay, and here the Gemara brings the source of what Rabbi Yehuda said. The Tanya, we learned in the Braisa like this. Harei shahaya noisha b'chavere mana. You're coming to collect from your friend a mana. V'asaloi sadeyu mecher. And the deal that you made with the lender is that if you're not going to pay up the loan by a certain time, then this property here will be sold to you for this money that you lent me. Okay, so basically it ends up becoming a sale. It starts off as a loan, but he tells him, if I don't pay up, then I'll sell you my property. So now, the Tanakama here says like this: if all this time, until we see whether he's going to actually pay back or not, if it's the seller, the one that's eating the fruits from this, the seller, which is also the borrower, seller/borrower, is the one that's eating the fruits from this all this time, then mutter, then this is allowed. But if it's the lekeach slash the borrower is the one that's eating the fruits for this, then aser. Then it's going to be aser. Or sorry, again, it's the lekeach is the slash the lender that's eating the fruits. Then it's going to be aser. And the reason for this is because what happens if the borrower does have money to pay, and now the lender ate fruits from the property, and he's getting paid also the full amount of the loan. So then this is ribis. He's getting paid back the amount of the loan plus the pay that he ate. So therefore it's going to be ribis. Now this is a kind of ribis where it's not necessarily going to end up being ribis. If what ends up happening is that the borrower does not pay, and it then turns into a sale, that the lender keeps this property, so then the fruits that he ate is from his property that he bought. So So this is just a sale. There's no issue of ribbis here. But in the event where he is paying back, and now the lekeach / lender ate from this fruits plus the full money that he gets paid back, then it's ribbis. This is the example of tzad echad b'ribbis. It's possible it will be ribbis, it's possible it won't. The Tanna Kama says it's aser. Rabbi Yehuda on this, Rabbi Yehuda says, Af bizman shelekeach eichel peiris mutter. Even in a time where the lekeach / lender is the one that's eating from these fruits in this time, it's still going to be mutter, even though it might end up being ribbis. But a case like this, where it could be ribbis, but it could not be ribbis, is not ribbis. Ribbis is when there's a charge for the time or the money that you're giving in a loan, that's ribbis. But a case where it could end up being ribbis or could not, that's not called ribbis, and it's mutter. So it's the same thing over here regarding this brisa that says with the payment that he made up, he's going to give him wheat, and then later on he ends up giving him wine instead, and then instead of wine to give oil. Now, according to Rav, this is the issue of ribbis because the price goes up and you're not paying with the same wheat that you said you're going to pay, which that you have, and that's it's like it was given already to the lender, but you're paying with something else. You're paying with wine or with oil. That's the issue of ribbis. But because it's, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's only a tzad echad b'ribbis, it's possible it will be ribbis, it's possible it won't, because the price might not go up. That's not ribbis. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's mutter. So now the Brisa here continues. Rabbi Yehuda said to the Chachamim or to the Tanna Kama, Maise bebaitis ben Zunin. There was a story with his baitis ben Zunin, she'asa sadeu mecher, that he did this. He lent money, or he borrowed money, that is, and his property, he designated it that this will be like a sale, that if he doesn't pay, then it'll be acquired to the lender. And he did this al pi Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. He did it according to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. And it was the buyer / lender that was eating the fruits in this time, even though this can end up being ribbis if he pays, and then the lender gets the payment for the loan plus the fruits that he ate. So we see that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah said it's not an issue. Amrullah, the Chachamim answered, Rabbi Yehuda, Misham Raya, you're bringing a proof from that story. Meicher eichel perisaya. The story actually there was the meicher / borrower. He was the one that was eating the fruits from this property all this time, not the lender, the lekeach. Sorry. So therefore over here there actually is no issue of ribbis at all, because if he ends up paying him back, the lender never got the extra fruits. It was the borrower / seller that was eating these fruits at this time. Okay, that's the Brisa. Now the Gemara spells out over here the pshat and the machlokes, as was explained before. Shmuel said, "My beinayu." What is the difference? In other words, what's the explanation of the machlokes here? So Amar Abaye said, like Shmuel said in the beginning, tzad echad beribis iki beinayu. They're arguing, and when you have this kind of a loan where there's one possibility it'll end up being ribis if he pays the loan, and there's another possibility it will not be ribis if he does not pay, and then it just becomes a sale. This is a loan / sale. So therefore, that's not ribis. That's the pshat over here, and that's the pshat in the Brisa of Rabbi Shia before. But here, though, the Gemara brings a second pshat in the machlokes of Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim. Rava says, no, that's not the explanation of their machlokes. Now, according to Rava, everybody would agree that tzad echad beribis is ribis. It could be ribis, it could not be. It's a loan / sale. It is ribis, and possibly according to some Rishonim, places here discusses that Rava holds according to Rabbi Yehuda, Tanna Kama, everybody agrees this would even be ribis min hatayra, because this is a loan. And you're giving him this karka to eat from it, and then you pay him. You possibly are going to pay him, and he gets the payment plus the paytis. So this could be even ribis min hatayra. So what is their machlokes? So Rava says ribis al menas lahachzer ikke beinayu. What they're arguing is when you pay ribis, but it's with the condition that you're going to return that ribis. That's the machlokes whether this is allowed or not. So the case over here is that the meicher / lender is eating from the fruits of this karka, and then the lender gets paid the full amount of the loan from the borrower, and then he also has additionally the paytis, and he didn't deduct from the payment for those paytis that he already ate. But then later on, he's going to return the value. He'll evaluate how much paytis he ate, and later on he's going to return the value of the paytis to the borrower. But initially he is getting paid ribis. Later on, he's going to return to him. So the Tanna Kama says that's a problem, even though you're going to pay it back later, but originally you're demanding and you're taking a payment of ribis. Yehuda says that if later you're going to then make the cheshbon and give him back the paytis that you ate, that's not ribis. It's ribis amanas lahachse. It's not a problem. That's the machlokes here, which is a different point that's not connected to what we said before. And the Gemara goes back to Rabbi Yanai's opinion. Omar Rava now said, Hashte the Omar Rabbi Yanai. Now that Rabbi Yanai said, based on what Rabbi Yanai said, Mali Hain mali dmeyan. When it comes here to the person that's coming to collect this produce that was promised to him, and now its price went up, and we said that you're allowed to take that produce that the price went up, and it's not an issue of ribis. And Rabbi Yanai added to that and said, even if that actual produce that he had in his possession he's not giving you now, instead he's going to give you money, but it doesn't matter, because the money is taking the place of that produce that's yours, that he owes you, as if it already became yours, and now he's giving you money instead, so there's no issue of ribis. That's the point that Rabbi Yanai said. So based on this, Rava said, Amrinon, we also say, Mali Dmeyen Umali Hein. That, going back now to the beginning over here, when you're coming to collect the loan, a lender is coming to collect the money for his loan, and the borrower says, instead of me giving you money, I have here chitim, I have fruits, and I'm going to give you here these fruits. Right, so then, as it said in the Bryce of Rabbi Shia, if he actually has those fruits in his possession, so then we say that the fact you can tell him that you're going to give him these fruits, and even though you're only providing it for him later on, and then later on the market price goes up, it doesn't matter, it's okay. Okay, and the reason is because it's already yotza hashar. There's a market value that's already set at this time. Because there's a market value that's set at this time, you're allowed to tell him that you're going to give him these paytas now. Okay, but over here, as we learned before, that's only if you have it in your possession, if you have those paytas in your possession. Not if you can go and buy it from someone else. Why? Because in this case, you're not getting any money from this borrower right now. In a case where it's a moichan lekech and he gives you money now, so then I say, even if you don't have those fruits in your possession, but you're giving him money now, and he can go and buy it from someone else, and there's already a set market value, you can buy it for this price. But if you're not giving him money right now, you have to have those fruits in your possession now. And then we say that there's a set market value and you have it in your possession right now, then even if the price goes up later, there's no ribis. So on this now, Rav is saying, Mali Dmeyen Umali Hen. It makes no difference if he has Dmeyen, and here the word Dmeyen actually means those fruits, the value of that money that the borrower owes. The borrower owes the money, and he tells the lender, I'm not going to give you the actual money that I owe you right now, but I'm going to give you Dmeyan, its value, which is with these fruits that I'm going to give you. So now, what the Rav says is, we can learn from Rabbi Yanai whether he has actual fruits in his possession right now, or even if he does not have actual fruits in his possession, even if he just has money, the value of those fruits in his possession, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It won't be any issue of ribis if he promises him to give him those fruits, and he doesn't have it right now. Why? Because it's Yotza Ashar. This is the halacha of Yotza Ashar. Whether you're giving him money right now, or he has money in his possession. He says, I have money here now. Don't worry, I have money, but I'm not going to give you the money right now. I know that you want for this money, you want wheat. I'll buy you the wheat, I'll get you the wheat and I'll give it to you later. Then even if the market value goes up later, it doesn't matter. And the reason is because it's Yotza Hashar. Once it's Yotza Hashar, now it's as if you gave it to him already. That's the pshat over here. Okay, so now Rashi here actually points out that this halacha that Rava here is saying, that he's learning it from Rabbi Yanai, seems to be something which is clear in a Mishnah later on Daf Ayin Beis. This is a Mishnah that's the basis of this entire sugya that we're learning here, that any time it's Yotza Hashar, and you promise someone to give a certain produce that for you what you owe him, and then later the price is going to go up, there's no issue of ribis, because once it's Yotza Hashar in the beginning, that's something that the borrower can go and get for you right now. It's as if he's giving it to you right now. So what's the chiddush of what Rav is saying here, based on what Rabbi Yanai said? He's basically saying the same point, that because the borrower has the money in his possession right now for this amount that he owes, and it's already Yotza Hashar, he can use that money to now buy these chitim or whatever it is that he says he's going to give, and therefore there's no issue of ribis if later on the price goes up. So what's the chiddush of what Rav is saying? So Rashi says the chiddush here is, in the Mishnah of Yotza Hashar later, where it says that this is allowed, the Gemara there brings that this Yotza Hashar means a later time period when there's already everybody is buying and selling, and it's a very clear and set market value for the wheat or whatever is being bought, then there's no issue of ribis. Here, the chiddush of what Rava was saying is, even in an earlier stage where Yotza Hashar B'shuk, that is in the marketplace, there's already a certain set value because of produce that was already brought into the marketplace, even though it's not mamish the real set value that comes on later in the season, that's good enough. And the reason is, as Rishonim explained, there's two different reasons over here why Yotza Hashar, there's no issue of ribis. One reason is because once the shar, the market value, is very set, we're not concerned about the fact that later the market value is going to go up and he's going to get more than what he's owed. Because once the market value is very clearly set in a later time in the season, it probably won't change again. So therefore, we're not concerned about that. That's the reason that, based on what the Gemara says later. However, here the Chiddush of Rava is, even if it's just in a market value that was set in an earlier stage in the season, where people are starting to sell in the market, that's good enough to say that there's no issue of ribis, because he has money in his possession, and he could buy for the lender this produce that he's promising him right now. So it's like he has it for him right now, and if the market value goes up later, it's like his. In other words, the lender's already went up, because it's already like he got it. It's like he bought it for him right now. So the chiddush of the Yotza Shar over here is the fact that he has money in his possession. It's like he got it for him now already. So the Gemara asks on this, did I read all the words here in the Gemara? Let me just see inside here the words of the Gemara. So we say Mali Dmeya and Mali Hain. As I pointed out, Rashi says here the words Mali Dmeya and Mali Hain means a little bit different than before. Here Dmeya makes no difference if you actually have those fruits in your possession now, or if you have money in their place. So Nami Amrino, we say this as well, Upaiskin al Shar Shebeshuk Vafal Pishein Loi. And therefore you can be paisik on these paytas that you're going to give him, whether you have paytas, whether you only have money to buy those paytas, but there's already a shar shebeshuk. That's the pshat I said before, that Rashi says it's not the shar later in the season, but it's a shar shebeshuk earlier on, and that's good enough. On this, so they asked on Rava as follows, from the Braisa before that we brought from Rabbi Ishi, and it said there, Kulam im yesh loy moter, im ein loy aser, in all these cases where the borrower says, look, I'll give you wheat. And then later on, the price of the wheat is going to go up, where he says, I'll give you wine, and later the price of the wine will go up. So Rabbi Ishi said in the Bryce, in all these cases, it's allowed, but only if he actually has the wheat in his possession right now. Seems like he has to have either the wheat or the wine, whatever he's promising he's giving him, he has to have that in his possession right now. You can't say that if he has money, the value of that wheat, that it's good enough. Even though it's Yotza Ashar, there's already a set market value. So Rava answered them, and this is the point we explained before today, that Rava said, Hasam halva, hacha zvini. There's a difference if it's a case of a loan. By a case of a loan, so over there, because you're not giving him money right now, so therefore I say that you have to have the actual produce that you're going to give him. You're not giving him money right now. You can't rely on the fact that there's a set market value right now, and therefore, based on that, he can go and buy it for you. No, he has to have the paytas that he says he's going to give you right now by a loan. But over here, if it's a zvini, if it's a sale, so over here, there's money that you're giving him right now. So because of that, the money that he has right now that he's getting from you, so it doesn't make a difference whether he has those fruits in his possession that he says he's going to give you, or he doesn't have the fruits. But now he has money instead of those fruits. And that was the lashon that the Gemara said before, Mali Dmei and Mali Hain. So, but if he has the money, so then if there's a set market value, this won't be an issue of ribis. This is already the point that we learned before, and that was the point that Rava was basing this on. There has to be a case of Zvini where he's giving him money right now. Rabba and Rav Yosef Damri Tavayo. Rabba and Rav Yosef, they said a different point to explain why is it when there's Yotza Hashar, when there's already a set market value for this produce that you're promising to give this person for what you owe him, why there's no issue of ribis if its value will go up later? What's the significance of the fact that there's already a set market value now? So my time Rabbana, why did the Rabbanan say Paiskan al Shasha B'Shuk? That you can be paisik, you can make up that you're going to give this amount of produce based on the set market value that there is already now in the market. Even if he doesn't have that produce in his possession right now. The reason is because he can. The borrower could say here to the lender like this: that you think that you're doing me a favor. The lender says you think that you're paying me here. You're promising you're going to give me now these fruits based on this market value that I has now. And later on, the price is going to go up, and I'm going to get from you this amount, even though it's a higher value. So I'm getting a favor from you. I'm not getting any favor from you. It's not you that's giving me this favor. Take your favor and throw it on the thorns. It's an expression saying that you're not maya honestly. You're not giving me any benefit at all. Why? Because this is something that I could have done for myself. If I have this money in my hands, have a mazavnina behini ubishili, I can go and buy this produce in other places, These are names of places, whether Hini or Shili. Bezula, I could buy it now for the market value that's already set now, which is a cheaper value. And then this produce would be already in my possession, and the price of it would go up in my possession, and I would have the higher value. I don't need you. You're not the one that's giving me this higher value. I can go now, I have the money in my hands. I can go and buy it now and get it for this higher possession. So now the fact that you're promising me that you're going to give it to me on this market value that it's now, and you're not giving it to me now, you're not, and later you're going to give it to me when the price goes up. When the price goes up, it's as if you're giving to me what I have already in my possession. Or really what he's saying is I'm not gaining from you. If I would have had it, if I would have had this money, I could have bought it for myself, and I would have gotten the same exact higher value on my own. I don't need you to do the price. Just went up. The market value automatically just went up. Nothing to do with you. You're not giving me more money here. It's something that I could have done for myself. So therefore, there's no issue of ribis here. So Abai says to Rav Yosef, if so, based on this logic, so you should say, mutter lilvoi sabisa. You should be allowed to borrow a certain amount of wheat, and you're paying back the same amount of wheat. This is the issue of ribis midrabanan by sabisa, when you're not allowed to borrow a certain amount of wheat and pay back that same amount, because maybe when you pay back that same amount, it has a higher market value now. But according to what we're saying over here, why should it be an issue? The borrower could say to him, shkili, or rather the lender can say to him, shkili tivusech v'shadya chizri. Take your favor and throw it on the thorns. Meaning that the fact that you're paying me back this amount of wheat, which has a higher value, I'm not getting more from you. You're not the one that's providing me more than what I have right now. Because the Amalei tells him, Chiti de Kotchi, Ba'kalboi. Do you think that this wheat that I'm lending you now, when it's sitting in my storehouse, if I would not lend it to you, do you think that it's going to sit there and get ruined from rain? No, it's protected. It's in a very good place. And the fact that the market value goes up later, if I would never lend you this wheat, so then my wheat that remains in my possession would go up. So the fact that you're paying me later for a higher market value and you're paying me back more than what you borrowed, don't consider it that you're giving me more, you're doing me a favor and giving me more. It's something that I'm gaining automatically by the higher market value. If this wheat would remain in my possession, I would have that gain anyways. So it's not you that's giving me this higher gain here. So if so, by saw, there should never be an issue of ribis midrabanan that you're paying back more in that amount because the price went up. Amalei, so Rav Yosef answered, Hasam halva. Over there, by saw, it's a loan. You're borrowing and you're paying back a loan this amount, and the price goes up. So that's a problem. So over there, Chachamim v'machmer. This is ribis midrabanan. Hacha zvini. Over here, though, we're talking about a case of a sale, and a person is paying in advance for a certain amount of produce that he's buying, and then he gets it later for a higher value. So over here, by a sale, we say the svara because it's not even in the context of a loan. It's in the context of a sale. So over here, it's the Rabbanan were more makel to say that if there's a set market value already in the beginning, so then he says to him that I could go and get this cheaper price for myself as well. I don't need you. You're not the one that I'm gaining by. So therefore over here, we apply the svara only by a sale when it's not in the context of a loan. Amalei Ada Barabe, or others are going to say Amalei Ravada Barabe, Lerove, V'haboy Lemesiv Zuzil Safsire. How could you say that you can go and buy this amount and get with your money from somewhere else for this market value, the cheap market value that there is now, you can go and sell it, get it for yourself. But no, you can't just go and get it for yourself. You're going to need some broker to come and find a provider, a producer that can give you this produce. So you are gaining now from the fact that he's giving it to you on this lower market value that it is now, and you don't have to pay that extra money for a broker. You're right, that amount, that money for the broker, he's going to have to give him. And then he can say this svara that I'm not gaining anything from you because even the money of the broker I'm ready to give you, I'm giving you right now. Ravashi says, no, there's no broker that's needed here. Zuzi de inchi inu avdele safsiruse. When a person has cash on hand to pay right away for the produce that he's buying, he doesn't need any broker to come and find him a producer or someone that's going to sell him. He has money. The people that have the produce are going to find someone with cash to sell to, and therefore it's going to be very easy for this person to buy without any broker from someone else. Sagt the Gemara, Rabbe v'Rav Yosef, the Amri Tarvayo. Rabbe and Rav Yosef both said another halacha, and this is not a halacha which is related to the subject of ribbis, but before brought up Rabbe and Rav Yosef that said a halacha, so brings here another halacha regarding a sale that they both said. A person that gives money when there is the initial first price, market price that comes up on produce that he's buying, and he's paying money for it. He has to come there to see the produce by the threshing floor, what it is exactly that he's getting. That was a statement that he said. Now, it's not clear what's the point of this. Why, if he's paying when it's the original market value that he's paying for, Rashi says Kharifa is like, or the Kharifa is the earlier on, when it comes, the Mefarshim say, that the first price, so you have to come and stand there. What's the significance of this? Why do you have to come stand there? So the Gemara explains, now Lamai, what's the relevance of this? If it's saying that this is a condition in order for the sale to take effect, but there is actually no actual sale that takes effect there. Halekani, he's not buying anything yet with a real kinyan, because if he's just paying for this, there's no real kinyan yet, because you can't make a kinyan on metaltalin just with money. It has to be actual meshicha, but here it's just paying money, so there is no actual kinyan yet. But if it's for the purpose of a mishapara, as we learned in the previous Perek, when you give money and you don't do an actual kinyan, if the seller backs out, there's a mishapara that he's backing out from the sale. So what it's saying is, if you want that there should be a mishapara, that he gets punished for this, that he's backing out, so then you have to come and see what he's selling you. But why should you have to come and see what he's selling you? Isn't the halacha that if you give money for something that someone sells you, even if you don't see what he's selling you, you still get a mishapara for this if he doesn't provide it for you, if he backs out from this? So what's the significance for this, that you have to come and see what he's selling you? Says the Gemara, really, it is for the point there that the seller shouldn't be able to back out, and he should get a mishapara if he backs out. Now, but the thing is, why do you have to come and see what he's selling you? Because umanda yav zuzi atara charife, a person that gives money so early on in the season, when it's not exactly known, these different field owners, what the produce they are providing, what's the quality of their produce, and this person is ready to give money so early on in the season for the produce that they're providing. So usually, lebeitrei tlase yav, he probably gives money in advance to more than one person, to 2 or 3 people. He wants to chaparain and get from a lower market value, but he's not yet sure who has good produce, so therefore he gives a few people in advance money. And then later on, he's going to take only from one and he's going to back out from the others. So therefore we say like this, if he comes there to the threshing floor and sees the actual produce that he's getting, we know that he gave this money in advance and he now sees what he's getting and he relies on it, and this is he wants, he's not backing out from this. But if he doesn't come and see what he's getting, then the seller could say, Amina, I thought to myself, you probably found someone else that has better produce than me and you took from him. You gave me money in advance, but there was no real kinyan here yet, and you didn't come back. So I thought you probably got from someone else. So therefore, I can back out. I wasn't serious with my commitment that I'm going to sell it to you for this amount of money, because I figured that you're probably taking from someone else. But if you come and you see, then the seller should know that the money that was paid, he means it, he wants it, and therefore if he backs out, there will be a mishapara. Ravashi, so Ravashi explained, now that you said that the point over here is that it's because we have to be sure that the seller sees that the buyer is serious and he's relying and he wants to actually take for this money. So then even if they meet each other in the street and the buyer tells the seller, I'm telling you that I'm not taking from anyone else, I'm taking only from you, so then he sees already that he's soymech das, and therefore he shouldn't back out from the sale. Rav Nachman said, Klola diribisa. The rule regarding ribis is, Kol agar natarle aser. Anytime that you're charging an interest or you're charging a certain premium for money that is given and there's a certain time that you wait, when you get back, that's agar nata, a pay for this time period that you're waiting. When you give this money, that's aser. That's the idea of ribis. Now this is obviously the concept of ribis regarding ribis min atayra. But here, the chiddush of Rav Nachman is, even in the case of ribis midrabanon, as we'll see in the case that we'll say soon here, we also look to see whether that premium is being charged is agar natar. Are you paying extra because of the time? Rav Nachman said as follows. person that gives money to someone that sells wax. The Kazli dalit dalit. And for each zuz, you can buy 4 pieces of wax. And now he tells him, hey, that I'll give me the money in advance, and I'm not giving you the wax right now, but I'll give you cheaper, I'll give you more, I'll give you 5 for this price. Okay, so because he's giving him the money in advance, he's giving him extra. So this is agernata. He's giving him money in advance, and because of that, he's going to give him extra, hey, instead of dalit. So isnu gabe shari. If he has this wax in his possession now, but he's not giving it to him now for whatever reason, whether because it's in a place where it's too far for him to get right now, or it's behind a key, a lock, where he doesn't have the key for it right now. His son has to come and bring him the key, as the Gemara will bring the example soon. But he has it in his possession right now. If he has it in his possession right now, so it's like he gave it to him already. So therefore, the fact that he's giving it to him for cheaper, it does not matter. But less nagabe, if he does not have it in his possession right now, osr, then that's not allowed, because he's giving you money in advance, and therefore you're giving cheaper. That's aganata. You're getting less because of the fact that you're giving him money in advance, or you're getting cheaper. That is because you're giving the money in advance, and you're getting a certain gain on the fact that you're giving the money in advance, and now you're waiting to get your wax. So the Gemara says, Pshita, isn't this halacha obvious? What was the chiddush of what Rav Nachman said? This is based actually on I think the Mishnah on a Braisa that says this point. So Pshita, this idea is Poshet. What's the chiddush? So the Gemara explains, Lo tzriche, the chiddush over here of what Rav Nachman said, the Islay Ashroi b'Masa. This person, this wax seller, he doesn't have actual wax in his possession, but there's someone else that he gets as a provider that gives him the wax, that owes him the wax, that is supposed to give it to him, but he doesn't have it in his possession right now. Mao the Teime, I would think, even this Liashroi b'Masa, since he has already on credit that someone that owes him wax from someone else in the city, I would think, so therefore, it's like a case where he already has it in his possession for the buyer. It's just that he's not giving it to him right now because he has to wait until his son comes to bring it to him, or until he finds the key to open up the lock where he has it. So similar here, if someone owes it to you, even if you don't have it in your possession right now, but it's as if you have it in your possession because it's owed to you. Kamash malon, kivin the mechseri gevaina, command the lesno dami. If you don't actually have it in your possession, that was what Rav Nachman was saying, that then it will be an issue of ribis in the framework of a sale, ribis midirabanon, when you're giving for a cheaper price, hey, instead of dalid, because you don't have it in your possession right now. If you have it in your possession, then it's not an issue. That was the chiddush of what Rav Nachman is saying.